Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's stewardship video. Brother Al McClaney here. Before we get too far, let's go ahead and read the disclaimer. No advice should be seen as a recommendation, as I am not a licensed financial advisor and is for educational purposes only. We want to start with the concept that I always end the videos with, which is I always say, remember that God is Lord, therefore he's the owner, but we're his faithful stewards. So God as the owner is a foundational principle to which everything is built upon. Everything needs to be on that foundation. If we don't get the key foundational principle that God owns it all, he's the creator. He created us, he created the earth, he created heaven, and he is the owner, not we are the owners, but he is the owner and we're his faithful stewards. Nothing works if we don't get that foundation. And see, you can see here a foundation that I'm showing here. And then to the right, those of you who live in Texas know about bad dirt and foundational problems. So if the foundation is not sound, there'll be cracks in the foundation. If you build something and the structure exceeds the foundation, that structure part could actually collapse. So everything is built on the foundation. And if there's problems with the foundation, then cracks will go not only up the walls, but you'll see them in the ceilings. You'll see where doors won't close. So that same principle illustrated in the natural is so important for us as Christians to get that foundation, and God is the owner. Therefore, we're following his principles. And here's a couple of scriptures that show this. So you got a plan A and a plan B. So First Chronicles 29, 11, and 12 is a foundational scripture. It's one of the first scriptures I learned in taking a crown study. Yours, O Lord, is the greatness, the power, the glory, the victory, and the majesty. Everything in the heavens and on earth is yours, O Lord, and this is your kingdom. We adore you as the one who is over all things. Wealth and honor come from you alone, for you rule over everything. Power and might are in your hand, and is at your discretion people are made great and given strength. So the emphasis on everything in the heavens and on earth is yours. We adore you as the one who is over all things. We recognize that wealth and honor come from him, and he rules over everything. So foundational, great principle, great scripture to memorize and use as a victory scripture. Then you contrast that to the rich man who bigger barns. You may know that parable in Luke 12, verses 16 through 20. And this is contrasting. I want you to listen to how many times the word I and mine are used in this scripture. Then he told them a parable, meaning Jesus. Then he told them a story. A rich man had a fertile farm that produced fine crops. He said to himself, what should I do? I don't have room for all of my crops. Then he said, I know. I'll tear down my barns and build bigger ones. Then I'll have room enough to store all my wheat and other goods. And I'll sit back and say to myself, my friend, you have enough stored away for years to come. Now take it easy, eat and drink and be merry. Then here's the response from Jesus himself, said, but God said to him, you fool, you will die this very night. Then who will get everything you worked for? So you can see here, this is obviously someone who was not recognizing God as owner. He saw himself as the owner. He even saw that he didn't even recognize that the crops, the fertile ground that he had came from the Lord himself. That's definitely a contrast from First Chronicles 29, 11, and 12. Well, let's look at another one. There are two paths that we go. All right. Most people go to the path to the left. That's where, and then going the path to the right, you can see is going to be a lonely path. But that's what most us as Christians, we would be traveling at. So let's look at Matthew 6, 24 and Amplified. No one can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon, which in the Amplified, money, possessions, fame, status, or whatever is valued more than the Lord. So we see here, the Lord uses serve, which means action, that you are acting upon this belief in this particular case, mammon. And mammon is even so much powerful than money. It's a spirit. And you can see the Amplified says it can be money, it can be possession, it can be fame, status, or whatever is valued more than the Lord. So that's the spirit there. And the word says right there, you can't serve both. You got to choose one path or the other. And Joshua said it best in our other scripture, Joshua 24:15, Amplified. It says, choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve. Choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve, whether the gods, little g notice there, which your fathers served that were on the other side of the river, or the gods, little g, of the Amorites in whose land you live. But as for me and my house, and this is Joshua saying, we will serve the Lord. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. So we can't serve two masters. We choose either the world's way or God's way. So let's go ahead and start to transition over to the earnings for this week. Very light. There's really only two big recognizable companies here. You got Dole, but it's not a huge company, but you've got Lennar, which will deal with home building. Has that market slowed down? We got Dollar General. Then you have FedEx, which is obviously the largest company I see on this particular graph of next week's reporting earnings. GameStop is going to be interesting to see. Will it continue as one of those little meme favorite stocks that was going on? So coming up next, remember again, the disclaimer, I'm not making any recommendations because I'm about to show a couple of potential investment ideas just to spark your interest, do your own research, and maybe it's something you want to look at. So in the news, you've seen a lot about oil. In fact, you may drive down the road and see gas prices, which will manifest themselves out of crude oil barrels going up. That's been in the news. And an exchange traded fund that trades in energy is XLE. And right now it's $76. Then you see another exchange traded fund, XLK, which is dealing with technology. I'll talk about that in a minute. But the first one, XLE, this may be an opportunity to invest in oil. And XLE, exchange traded fund, is $76 a share. But maybe you want to go through our favorite tool, etfdb.com. That's etfdb.com. Go and look at the top 15 holdings of the exchange traded fund XLE, and maybe you're interested in those particular companies. So you see Exxon there, Chevron. You can see Occidental. Occidental I bring up because just recently Berkshire Hathaway, the company owned by Warren Buffett, he increased his stake in Occidental. So maybe he sees something when it comes to the oil industry. Now, here's another way you can also play this market. Now, oil has been on fire. Now, I pulled back for a couple of days, so it's been on its way up. Maybe you want to look at another different strategy, which is look at something that may be beaten down, but you know it's going to eventually recover. Technology had been beaten down in the last several weeks and couple of months. So maybe one of the things you want to do is look at a beaten down energy versus energy that's been pretty hot. The exchange traded fund is XLK. We used our favorite tool, etfdb.com. Look at the top 15 holdings. You can see there's Apple there, there's Microsoft. I'm going to come back to Apple and come back to Occidental that we saw in XLE. And maybe you want to look at those and individually want to invest in those. And XLK is maybe still a little pricey for your blood, $144 a share. But here's the thing we've been emphasizing before that you may want to do. Go to something like Schwab stock slices. There's other ways to do it. You can do it through Cash App, in which you're buying fractional shares, like in Fidelity. I just use Schwab. I'm not putting it there out as a recommendation, but this is one of the ones I use. And you can go out and use the stock slices, and you can do it by sector. So you can see over here to the left, there's the energy sector. And remember, we saw Chevron in the exchange fund rate XLE. We saw Occidental Petroleum in the XLE exchange traded fund. But in this case, instead of the $76, you can go out and build your own kind of exchange traded fund or even mutual fund, and you can purchase these for as low as $5 a share. right? $5 a share. Here's the other one. We were looking at technology, and remember that was XLK was the exchange traded fund and technology. You can do the same thing. Go out, look by sector. Here's information technology, and here's Apple. There's Adobe. There's Accenture. All of these were also in that $144 exchange traded fund, XLK. There's another way we can do this. So remember I talked to you about Warren Buffett was investing more, increased his stake in like Chevron and Occidental Petroleum. Well, this may be a blast from the past, but here is that CNBC Berkshire Hathaway portfolio tracker. And there's the website right there that you can go out and you can track Berkshire Hathaway and what they have within their portfolio. So on top of Berkshire Hathaway owning companies like Geico, or I think they own Dairy Queen. There's some other things that they own, but the biggest one, of course, is Geico. He also has a massive portfolio, meaning Warren Buffett or Berkshire Hathaway, where they invest in stock of the company. So here's Apple. And I looked at it and did it by percentage of the portfolio Berkshire Hathaway. 43% of the holding is Apple within Berkshire Hathaway. But here's the one I put a star by. 2.1%, 2%, Occidental Petroleum Corporation. And I don't know if this is after the recent increase he did, but I know he was buying more stake in Occidental Petroleum Corporation. He already had Chevron. He's always had Coca-Cola, Bank of America, American Express. He's loved those companies for years, and he's kept those holdings in there. There's MasterCard here. So you can go look at the actual portfolio, and we know those prices can be kind of pricey for that stocks. For instance, here's Occidental Petroleum Corporation, $57.95 a share, still lower than Chevron, which is $170.90 a share, but it still could be pricey for you. So what do? A couple of things you can do. You can do it individually and go look for that stock using stock slices, or you can just do Berkshire Hathaway B shares, which is a smaller version of the A share, because I think the A share is up to $1,000 or $3,000 a share, but the Berkshire B, which is a smaller version of the Berkshire Hathaway stock, it's still $326 a share, but you can buy it for $5. You could invest up to $5, and not a share, but $5 increments. And there it is, $326 is a one share price, but you can do increments of $5 using Schwab stock slices. So there's another way of getting some exposure to oil, some exposure to Warren Buffett's company, Berkshire Hathaway, and still making it price accommodating for you. And just Berkshire is almost like a exchange traded fund in itself, or mutual fund. See all the offerings that are located in there. Plus you're getting exposure to Geico and the others that are not traded out there, but they're owned by Berkshire Hathaway. So a lot of ways to do it. So you may still be saying, well, Al, how in the world can I do this? I can't find the money. So I'm going to show you a quick video. Rachel Cruz's daughter, Dave Ramsey, talking about a budget or a spending plan. This is a very important tool to free up and find money that you could utilize to do that. And remember, this is another way to go back to being a good steward of the Lord's resources and money.
All right, a simple budget, you guys. This is all it is. Are you ready for this? 5th grade math. Your monthly income minus all of your expenses should equal 0. So every dollar coming in is assigned to a category. Now, that's easier said than done, okay? Because here's the deal. There's a lot of moving parts, and if you've never done a budget before, it's gonna be very, very overwhelming. So the first thing you have to do is figure out, what do you make a month? Some people, it's different every month, so we'll talk about that later on in the episode. But for most of you, it's like, okay, yeah, here's your salary. You know exactly what you're going to make. So dig in and figure it out. After taxes, this is take-home pay. What are you bringing in the door every month? Figure out that number. And then you're gonna go list out all of your expenses. So this is everything from rent or your mortgage to food, groceries, restaurants, your cell phone, your insurance, pet care, anything that you spend money on. list it out, and then put dollar amounts next to each of those categories. Now, your first month doing a budget, go back and look the last like 3 months and just kind of average out, okay, here's kind of what we're spending on food. Here's kind of what, this is what our insurance payment looks like. Just get a ballpark to at least get some numbers down. And then what you may realize is, wow, we're spending a lot of money because we have not been purposeful, which means you're gonna adjust some of those categories, which is totally fine for that first month. But again, your goal is that income minus all the expenses will equal 0. Every dollar has a name, okay? And so stick with this because every month is gonna look different. So I'm telling you, you have to put it though visually somewhere. This can be on a sheet of paper, or you could use Every Dollar, which is our budgeting app, and it's amazing. Seriously, I love Every Dollar. Every Dollar Plus connects to your bank account, so when you swipe your debit card, automatically those transactions come in the app and you can drag and drop them into the correct categories. Or if you're taking cash out of the bank, then that'll come up and you'll be like, okay, yes, $200 went to food here, and you can break it out. And it is like, I'm telling you as a free spirit, even though I'm a free spirit, it's one of the most satisfying things in the world when you see that little bubble pop up in the Every Dollar app and you get to drag and drop and it does the math for you. Then it starts subtracting from your categories. You don't have to do the math. I mean, it is unbelievable. It will change your budgeting game. So download Every Dollar, do your first budget. And the great thing is here at Ramsey Solutions, we have solutions for you. We help you. So even within the app, we have so much there to talk about how to do the budget. So dig in there, look and see, because this is huge.
So you can use the Every Dollar app or just use the concepts that she was talking about and do it on a sheet of paper or a spreadsheet, whatever works for you, whatever app, whatever software you want to use. The point is use whatever works for you to do a budget. If you're a couple, of course you need to do it together, but the Every Dollar app, I think it's free just to download and use. But if you wanted to pull in your spending from your bank, that has a fee with it. But just to create a budget on there, I believe is free. So we're going to end with how we always normally do. Just take a look at the market, QQQ, which is the technology portion or the exchange traded funds that looks main focus is on technology. You can see we're still in a downtrend. We're just kind of chopping around in these channels. Same thing with SPY. We bounced off of what was support, now resistance. So we'll see coming up, what's going to affect the market. Right now, we're still in downtrend, but don't let that scare you. Don't stop your 401k. Don't stop your investing. Maybe you go to cash, or maybe use this opportunity to do what we're talking about. Technology's beating up. Let's go to XLK and purchase some technology companies. We'll end this week as we always do. Remember, this is out on YouTube. You can do a search under my name, Al McClaney. Like and subscribe. That helps me out. And remember, as we talked about with the beginning, that Jesus is Lord, therefore the Lord is owner, but we are his faithful stewards. And as my pastor, Denny Dwight Davis says, have a good week and remember to keep a good spirit.